I'm Monica Porter, 34, an architect in Boston living what many call a dream life, a townhouse in Back Bay, a sleek car, a career I fought tooth and nail for. But everything shattered one day when I came home to find my house sold, my car gone, and my belongings tossed out like trash. My parents did this. They took everything I owned and handed over $500,000 to pay off my brother's gambling debts. No warning, no permission, just betrayal. They called it family loyalty, saying I had to sacrifice for their golden child. What would you do if your own family stripped away everything you built just to fuel someone else's dream? Share your thoughts below and join me as I take you through this journey. After 8 months grinding on a project in Philadelphia, I landed back in Boston. My body aching, but my mind set on one thing: getting home. My townhouse in Back Bay wasn't just a house, it was my pride. My proof I'd made it as an architect at 34. Every brick, every window I'd paid for with years of late nights and scrapped weekends. I rented a car at the airport, eager for my own bed, my quiet space. But as I turned onto my street, my heart stopped. A moving truck blocked my driveway. 2 guys in overalls were carrying furniture into my house, my house. I double-checked the address, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. This was it. 47 Commonwealth Avenue. No mistake. I parked and walked to the front door, my keys jingling in my hand. The lock didn't budge. My key, the one I'd used for years, was useless. A woman in her 40s, dressed in a crisp blazer, stepped out, eyeing me like I was some lost tourist. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone sharp. I forced my voice steady, though my chest tightened. "This is my house. I'm Monica Porter." "Who are you?" She blinked, confused, then called her husband over. They introduced themselves as the new owners, pulling out a folder of papers, deed, title, all stamped and legal dated 2 months ago. My townhouse sold for $500,000. My name wasn't on a single page. My knees felt weak, but I grabbed the papers, scanning every line. "This is a mistake," I said, my voice cracking. "I never sold my house." The woman pointed to the curb. Trash bags lined the sidewalk, stuffed with my life, my clothes, my sketchbooks, my grandmother's necklace, all soaked from last night's rain. I dropped to my knees, ripping through the bags. My old journals, my photo albums, my portfolio from grad school ruined. I found a framed picture of me at my first job, glass cracked, and my breath caught. Who could do this? I stood clutching the picture and demanded, "Where's my car?" The husband shrugged. No car came with the house. My black sedan, paid off with my savings, was gone. I pulled out my phone and dialed my parents. No answer. I tried my brother. Voicemail. My blood boiled. They knew something, I could feel it. I walked back to the rental car, my mind racing. That townhouse wasn't just a home. It was my safety net, my future. I'd spent years designing every detail: the skylight in the kitchen, the bookshelves I built myself. And now strangers were walking on my floors, sleeping in my space. I opened the deed again, staring at the signatures. They looked real, but I hadn't signed anything. Had I? A memory flickered, my parents asking me to sign some papers before I left for Philadelphia, saying it was for house maintenance. I'd been rushed, distracted, trusting. My stomach twisted. Had they set me up? I called my parents again, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. Still no answer. I left a voicemail, my voice low and sharp. "You better explain what's going on, because I'm coming to find out." I drove around the block, trying to piece it together. My parents had access to my house while I was gone. They had my spare key, my trust. But why sell it? Why throw out my things? My brother's face flashed in my mind, his reckless promises, his constant need for cash. Had he dragged them into this? I pulled over, my hands gripping the wheel. I wasn't just locked out of my house. I was locked out of everything I'd built. My family had answers, and I wasn't waiting another day to get them. I pulled into my parents' driveway in Newton. my hands still shaking from yesterday's discovery. Their quaint colonial house with its neat lawn and white shutters looked the same as always, but it felt like a stranger's now. I didn't knock. I walked straight in the front door, unlocked as usual. My parents, George Porter and Pamela Porter, were in the living room sipping coffee, like it was just another morning. My brother wasn't there. Monica, Mom said, her voice soft, almost surprised, as she stood up. Dad set his mug down, his face tightening. I didn't sit. I stood in the doorway, my arms crossed, and cut to the chase. Why did you sell my house? Mom's eyes widened, but Dad didn't flinch. What are you talking about? He said, his tone defensive. I stepped closer, my voice steady but sharp. My townhouse in Back Bay. My car. Gone. Sold for $500,000. My things were in the trash. You had my keys. Explain. Silence hung heavy. Mom looked at Dad, her hands twisting together. Then she started, her voice trembling. Monica, we had no choice. Your brother was in trouble. My stomach churned. What kind of trouble? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Dad leaned forward, his jaw set. Gavin owed money. A lot of money. $500,000 from gambling. We had to help him. I stared, my pulse racing. So you sold my house? My car, without asking me? Mom reached out, her eyes pleading. He's your brother, Monica. He's our hope, the one who'll carry the family name. We thought you'd understand. Understand my house. My life's work gone to bail out my brother's mess. I laughed, a bitter sound that made Mom flinch. You thought I'd understand. You threw my things in the trash. Dad stood now, his voice rising. Don't be selfish, Monica. Family comes first. Gavin needed us. I stepped closer, my fists clenched. And what about me? I worked for everything I had. You didn't even call me. Mom started crying, her hands covering her face. We didn't want to worry you. You were so busy with work. I shook my head, my anger boiling over. Busy? I trusted you. I gave you my keys, my home, and you sold it like it was nothing. Dad pointed at me, his face red. You've always been fine, Monica. Gavin's the one who needs help. He's our priority. I felt like I'd been slapped. Their priority. My brother, who'd burned through every chance they gave him, was their priority. I remembered all the times they'd bailed him out, his failed business ventures, his reckless spending, his promises to change. And now this. You sold my house for his gambling debts. I said, my voice low, shaking. Do you even know what that house meant to me? Every dime I earned, every late night went into it. And you just gave it away. Mom sobbed harder, but I didn't stop. You didn't just sell my things, you sold my trust. Dad tried to interrupt, but I cut him off. No. I'm done listening. You crossed a line, and I'm not letting this go. I'm taking this to court. Mom gasped, her eyes wide. Court, Monica, you can't sue your own family. Dad's face hardened. You're overreacting. We'll figure this out. I shook my head, stepping back. No, you figured it out when you sold my life without asking. You'll see me in court. I turned to leave, my heart pounding, but Mom grabbed my arm. Please, Monica, don't do this. We're your family. I pulled away, my voice cold. Family doesn't do this to each other. I walked out, their voices fading behind me. In the car, I gripped the steering wheel, my mind racing with every moment I'd let them take from me. I wasn't their backup plan anymore. That night, I sat alone in a hotel room, the weight of my parents' betrayal pressing down on me. I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying every moment that led to this, years of my brother being the golden child, the one who could do no wrong while I was left picking up the pieces. Gavin. Even thinking his name made my chest tighten. He'd always been the center of Mom and Dad's world, their hope, their pride, no matter how many times he let them down. And now they'd sold my house, my car, everything I'd built to clean up his latest mess. $500,000 for his gambling debts. I refused to let it go, but to understand why I was here, I had to look back. When we were kids in Newton, Gavin got everything. I was 10, saving every dollar from my lemonade stand in a jar under my bed. I wanted a bike, a shiny red one I'd seen at the store. Gavin, 13, saw my jar and took it. $200 gone for a new video game console. I cried to Mom, expecting her to make it right. Instead, she hugged me and said, "He's your brother, Monica. Share a little." Dad just nodded like it was no big deal. That was the first time I realized I came second. It wasn't the last. In high school, I worked weekends at a diner to pay for art classes, dreaming of becoming an architect. Gavin, meanwhile, got a car for his 16th birthday, a used Mustang, but still a gift I'd never get. When he crashed it a month later, drunk at a party, Mom and Dad paid for the repairs. I asked for help with my class fees once. Dad said, "You're smart, Monica. You'll figure it out." So I did. I worked double shifts, got scholarships, and clawed my way through college. Gavin. He dropped out after a semester, claiming he had bigger plans. Mom and Dad believed him every time. By my mid-20s, I was building my career in Boston, designing homes, saving for my townhouse. Gavin had a string of failed ventures: a bar that went bust, a tech startup that never launched. Each time he'd come to me, all charm and promises. Just $10,000, Monica, to get me started. I lent him money once, $5,000 from my savings. He never paid me back. I stopped saying yes, but Mom and Dad never did. They gave him thousands, tens of thousands, always with the same excuse: "He's trying, Monica. He needs our support." I'd nod, bite my tongue, and keep working. 2 years ago, Gavin came to me again, desperate. He'd gotten into gambling, poker, sports betting, online casinos. He owed $20,000 to some shady loan shark. His eyes were wild, his voice shaky. "If I don't pay, they'll hurt me," he said. I looked at him, my brother, the one who'd taken so much already. "No," I said. "Figure it out yourself." He begged, but I held firm. I'd spent my life fixing his messes, and I was done. He stormed out, calling me selfish. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Last year, before my Philadelphia project, Mom called me. "Gavin's in trouble again." She said, her voice low. "He owes a lot, Monica. We need your help." I told her no, firmly. "He's an adult. Let him handle it." She cried, said I didn't understand family. Dad got on the phone, his tone sharp. "You've got your fancy job, your house. Gavin needs us more." I hung up, my hands shaking. I sat in that hotel room, staring at the cracked photo frame from my trash pile, the one from my first job. I'd been so proud, standing in front of my first design, a small library in Boston. Mom and Dad hadn't come to the opening. They were at Gavin's latest business pitch. Now I saw it clearly: they'd always chosen him, no matter the cost to me. My anger wasn't just about the house or the car. It was about a lifetime of being pushed aside, expected to sacrifice, because I was the strong one. I wasn't strong now. I was furious, betrayed, done. The next day, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Monica, it's Julie Morgan, Gavin's ex. I know what happened to your house. Meet me at the Thinking Cup in Boston, 2 p.m. My heart skipped. Julie, I hadn't seen her in years, not since she and my brother split. Why was she reaching out now? I typed a quick reply, agreeing to meet, my mind racing with possibilities. Was she involved? Did she know who'd done this to me? I grabbed my keys and headed out, determined to get answers. The Thinking Cup was crowded, the smell of coffee thick in the air. I spotted Julie Morgan in a corner booth. Her dark hair pulled back, her face tense. She was 32, a nurse, always sharp but guarded. I slid into the seat across from her, my voice low. "Julie, what's this about?" She didn't waste time. "I heard about your house, Monica. I'm so sorry." Her eyes were sincere, but I wasn't here for apologies. "What do you know?" I pressed, leaning forward. Julie took a deep breath, her hands gripping her coffee mug. "Gavin's in deep trouble. He owes $500,000 to a gambling ring, dangerous people, not just bookies. They threatened to kill him if he didn't pay." My jaw tightened. So that's why my parents sold everything. But Julie wasn't done. Your parents didn't just sell your house and car, she said, her voice dropping. They forged a power of attorney to make it legal. My blood ran cold. Forged. I leaned back, my mind spinning. How do you know this? I asked, my voice sharp. She pulled out her phone and showed me an email, a scanned document, my signature at the bottom, dated 6 months ago. It authorized my parents to sell my townhouse and car. Gavin sent me this months ago, bragging about getting out of debt, Julie said. I didn't know it was your house until I saw your name on the papers. I stared at the screen, my signature staring back like a stranger's. I hadn't signed that, or had I? A memory hit me, Mom handing me a stack of papers before my Philadelphia trip, saying they were for tax purposes. I'd been rushed juggling work calls and signed without reading. My stomach sank. They'd played me. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my eyes locked on hers. Julie sighed, her shoulders slumping. Because I've been where you are. Gavin used me too. Borrowed money, lied, left me to clean up his messes. When I heard what they did to you, I couldn't stay silent. She slid a USB drive across the table. This has texts, emails, everything I saved from Gavin about the debt and the sale. Use it. I took the drive, my fingers trembling. This was proof my parents had betrayed me. Proof Gavin had orchestrated it all. I left the cafe, my head pounding. Julie's words echoed, dangerous people, forged papers, my signature. I couldn't let this slide. I needed someone who could fight this, someone I trusted. Benjamin Larson. My best friend from college and a lawyer in Boston was the first name that came to mind. I called him from the car, my voice shaking but firm. Ben, it's Monica. My parents forged papers to sell my house and car. I need to sue them. There was a pause. Then his calm voice came through. Monica, come to my office. Bring everything you have. An hour later, I sat in Benjamin Larson's office in downtown Boston, the USB drive on his desk. He scanned the email Julie had shown me, his brow furrowed. This is serious, he said, leaning back. Forging a power of attorney is fraud. If we can prove this, your parents and Gavin could face real consequences. I nodded, my resolve hardening. I want to fight this, Ben. They can't get away with it. He gave me a small smile, the kind that always steadied me. Then we'll build a case. I'll start digging into the sale records and the notary. Get some rest, Monica. This is just the beginning. I left his office, clutching the USB drive, my anger now mixed with determination. My parents thought they could sacrifice me for Gavin. They were wrong. A week later, I walked into Benjamin's office, the USB drive from Julie burning a hole in my pocket. Benjamin Larson, my best friend and lawyer, was already at his desk, surrounded by files and a laptop glowing with legal documents. His office in downtown Boston was small but sharp, with a view of the Charles River that usually calmed me. Not today. My mind was a storm of anger and questions. I handed him the drive, my voice steady but urgent. This has everything Julie gave me: emails, texts, the forged power of attorney. Ben nodded, plugging the drive into his computer. Let's see what we're working with, he said, his tone all business. As he clicked through the files, I sat across from him, my thoughts drifting back to that moment before my Philadelphia trip. Mom had come to my townhouse, a stack of papers in hand. Just some forms for house maintenance, she'd said, her smile too quick. I was rushing to pack, my phone buzzing with work emails. I'd signed without a second thought, trusting her. Now staring at the forged document on Ben's screen, my signature authorizing the sale of my house and car, I felt sick. They lied to me, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Ben looked up, his eyes serious. This is fraud, Monica. We can prove it. He pulled up the sale records from the real estate agency. The power of attorney, dated 6 months ago, had been notarized by someone in Boston. Ben cross-checked it with Julie's emails. One message from Gavin bragged about fixing the paperwork to clear his $500,000 debt. Another mentioned a notary who owed him a favor. Ben's jaw tightened. This notary's name shows up in the sale documents, he said. If they took a bribe, we've got them. I leaned forward, my heart racing. Can we trace it? Ben nodded. I'll subpoena the notary's records and bank statements. If there's a payment, we'll find it. My phone buzzed mid-meeting, interrupting us. It was a call from my Aunt Carol Reed, Dad's older sister. I hadn't spoken to her in months, but her name on the screen made my stomach twist. I answered, keeping my voice neutral. Aunt Carol? What is it? Her voice was soft, pleading. Monica, I heard you're thinking about suing your parents. Please don't do this. They were trying to protect Gavin. I gripped the phone, my anger flaring. Protect him. They stole my house, my car, everything I worked for. They forged my signature. Carol's tone grew desperate. They're your family, Monica. Gavin was in danger. You can rebuild. Don't tear them apart. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Rebuild. They threw my life in the trash for Gavin's mistakes. I'm done protecting them. I hung up my hands, shaking. Ben looked at me, his expression calm but firm. You sure about this, Monica? Suing your parents will get messy. I met his gaze, my resolve hardening. They made it messy when they lied to me. I want justice, Ben. For me, not them. He nodded, scribbling a note. Then we move forward. I'll draft the complaint for fraud and conversion of property. We'll name your parents and Gavin as defendants. The notary, too, if we find evidence of a bribe. Over the next few days, Ben dug deeper. He found the notary's contact details and sent a request for their records. Meanwhile, I combed through my own memories, trying to recall every detail of that day I signed the papers. I remembered Mom's nervous laugh, Dad texting in the corner, probably coordinating with Gavin. They'd planned it all, knowing I'd be gone for months. The betrayal cut deeper the more I thought about it. My house wasn't just property, it was my proof I'd made it against all their doubts. And they'd taken it to save Gavin again. Ben called me 2 days later with an update. The notary's bank records show a deposit of $15,000 right after the power of attorney was signed, he said. It's from an account linked to your father. My breath caught. Proof. We had proof. What's next? I asked, my voice steady now. We file the lawsuit, Ben said. This evidence plus Julie's documents gives us a strong case. It'll take a few weeks to prepare, but we're ready. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of control. A month later, I stood outside the Suffolk County Courthouse in Boston, my heart pounding as I adjusted my blazer. The air was crisp, the city buzzing around me, but all I could focus on was the trial ahead. Benjamin had worked tirelessly, building a case that felt ironclad. Today we'd face my parents, George and Pamela, and my brother Gavin in court. I wasn't just fighting for my house or car, I was fighting for justice for every year they'd taken me for granted. I took a deep breath and walked inside, Ben at my side. The courtroom was stark, all wood and fluorescent lights packed with faces I didn't recognize. My parents sat at the defendant's table, their faces pale. Gavin slouched beside them, avoiding my gaze. Ben squeezed my arm, his voice low. We've got this, Monica. I nodded, my jaw tight, and took my seat. The judge, a stern woman with gray hair, called the case. Benjamin stood, his voice steady as he presented our evidence. Your Honor, the defendants forged a power of attorney to sell Monica Porter's townhouse and car, valued at $500,000, without her consent. He displayed the forged document on a screen, my signature glaring back at me. This power of attorney, notarized 6 months ago, was used to transfer Ms. Porter's assets, Ben said. But Ms. Porter never authorized it. He called the notary, a nervous man in his 50s, to the stand. Under oath, he admitted taking a $15,000 payment from my father to certify the document. The courtroom murmured, and I saw Mom clutch Dad's hand, her eyes wide. Ben pressed further. Did you verify Ms. Porter's presence when you notarized this? The notary shook his head, his voice shaky. No. I was told she'd signed it. Next, Ben called Julie Morgan, Gavin's ex, as a witness. Julie walked to the stand, her posture rigid but her voice clear. Gavin told me he owed $500,000 to a gambling ring, she said. He sent me emails bragging about using Monica's assets to pay it off. Ben submitted the USB drive showing the judge Gavin's messages and the forged document. Julie glanced at me, her eyes apologetic. I saw the papers after the sale, she added. Monica's signature was on them, but she was in Philadelphia when they were signed. The judge's expression hardened, and I felt a surge of hope. My parents' lawyer tried to argue they acted out of desperation to save Gavin from danger. My clients believed they were protecting their son, he said, his tone pleading. But Ben countered, his voice sharp. They committed fraud, Your Honor. They deceived Ms. Porter, misrepresented documents as routine, and sold her property without consent. He showed bank records linking Dad's account to the notary's payment sealing the case. I watched my parents' faces crumble. Mom's eyes filling with tears, Dad staring at the floor. Gavin shifted his hands, fidgeting, but he said nothing. The judge deliberated for what felt like hours, though it was only minutes. I gripped the edge of my seat, my heart racing. Finally, she spoke, her voice firm. The evidence is clear. The defendants, George and Pamela Porter, committed fraud by forging a power of attorney to sell Monica Porter's assets. They are sentenced to 7 years in prison. Mom gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Dad's shoulders slumped. The judge turned to Gavin. Gavin Porter, you conspired in this fraud. You are sentenced to 4 years of probation and a fine of $100,000. Gavin's face went white, his eyes darting to me for the first time. I stared back, unflinching. As the gavel fell, the courtroom erupted in whispers. Ben leaned over, his voice quiet. You did it, Monica. It's over. But it didn't feel over. I looked at my parents now, being led away by bailiffs, Mom sobbing, Dad silent. Gavin stood, his lawyer whispering in his ear, but he avoided me. I'd won, but the weight of it hit me hard. They were my family, and now they were gone by their own actions, not mine. I walked out of the courthouse, the cold air hitting my face, my mind a mix of relief and grief. The next morning, I woke up in my new apartment in Beacon Hill, the sunlight streaming through a small window overlooking cobblestone streets. The place was modest, a 1-bedroom with exposed brick walls and a tiny kitchen, but it was mine, paid for with my savings and a loan I'd secured after the trial. I stood at the counter brewing coffee, the quiet hum of the city outside grounding me. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of peace. My townhouse, my car, my old life were gone, but I was starting over on my terms. I hadn't spoken to my parents, George and Pamela, or my brother Gavin since the courtroom. The judge's gavel still echoed in my mind, their sentences: 7 years for Mom and Dad, 4 years of probation for Gavin, marking the end of our ties. I'd blocked their numbers, ignored their letters from prison. They'd made their choices, and I'd made mine. The family I'd once trusted had forged my signature, sold my home, and thrown my belongings away, all to save Gavin. That wasn't family. That was betrayal. My phone buzzed with a voicemail from my cousin Emily, Aunt Carol's daughter. I hesitated but played it, her voice sharp and accusing. Monica, how could you do this? You put your parents in jail. You broke our family. I deleted it, my jaw tight. Then came a text from Uncle David, Dad's brother. You're heartless, Monica. Blood is thicker than money. I stared at the words, my chest aching. Heartless, I'd spent years supporting my family, lending Gavin money, trusting Mom and Dad with my home. They'd used me, lied to me, and now I was the villain. I blocked their numbers too, my hands steady. Their judgment couldn't touch me anymore. I walked to the window, watching people pass below, couples, laughing kids, chasing pigeons. I thought about the years I'd spent trying to please my family, always coming second to Gavin. The lemonade stand money he stole, the loans I gave him, the endless excuses Mom and Dad made for him. Even when I said no to bailing him out, they went behind my back, forging papers to sell my life away. The trial had given me justice, but it also gave me clarity. Family isn't just blood. It's trust, respect, loyalty, things they'd never given me. I sat on my new couch, a thrift store find I'd covered with a soft gray throw. My sketchbooks salvaged from the trash and carefully dried lay on a shelf nearby. I opened one, tracing the designs I'd drawn for my townhouse skylights, bookshelves, dreams I'd built from nothing. Losing it hurt, but I wasn't broken. I was still an architect, still capable, still me. The lawsuit hadn't just punished my parents and Gavin, it had freed me. I didn't need their approval or their apologies. I needed to live for myself. My phone pinged again, this time a message from Benjamin. Coffee this weekend. You deserve a break. I smiled, typing a quick yes. Ben had been my rock through this, never doubting me, never judging. Friends like him, colleagues who respected my work, clients who trusted my designs. They were my family now, the kind that didn't demand I sacrifice everything. I thought about Julie, too, risking her own peace to give me the truth. Their support showed me what real loyalty looked like. As I unpacked boxes hanging a small painting I'd bought at a local market, I felt lighter. The relatives' criticism stung, but it couldn't undo the truth. I'd fought for what was right. My parents and Gavin had chosen their path, and I'd chosen mine. Justice wasn't just about the courtroom, it was about reclaiming my self-respect. I'd spent too long believing family meant putting others first even when they hurt me. No more. I learned that self-worth matters more than empty promises of family ties. If love comes with betrayal, it's not love, it's a trap. I stood back admiring the painting, a simple watercolor of Boston's skyline. This apartment wasn't my old townhouse, but it was a start. I'd build again, design again, live again. The scars of what my family did would fade, but the lesson wouldn't. Justice and self-respect outweigh a hollow sense of duty. I was done carrying their weight. I was free.